History remembers crusades. History remembers castles surrounded by forests where no one dared to travel after sunset. But history never explains why one entire village simply disappeared, not destroyed by war, not burned by plague. Gone, every house untouched, every meal still resting on the table, every candle still burning. Only the people had vanished. For more than 700 years, no map has ever marked that village. No king ever claimed it. No priest ever spoke its name. Because hidden beneath the oldest chapel, carved into a stone older than the kingdom itself, was a warning. The first vampire was never born. He made a choice. The inscription remained buried beneath the earth, waiting, until one young historian opened a forgotten crypt. His name was Adrian Vale. He wasn't a knight. He wasn't a hunter. He wasn't even a magician. He studied forgotten history, the stories everyone else called myths, while other scholars searched royal archives. Adrian searched abandoned cemeteries, collapsed monasteries, ancient burial grounds. His professors laughed at him. "You'll spend your life chasing fairy tales." Adrian always answered the same way. The greatest lies usually begin with someone hiding the truth. One autumn evening, he reached the ruins of St. Armand's chapel. The building had been abandoned for centuries. Its roof had collapsed. Its stained glass windows had long since turned to dust. Yet one thing disturbed Adrian immediately. Not a single weed grew around it. The forest itself seemed afraid to touch the chapel. He stepped inside. The silence felt unnatural. Even the wind refused to enter. At the center of the broken floor, he noticed a stone engraved with an unfamiliar symbol. Not a cross, not a crown, a single drop of blood inside a full moon. Adrian brushed away centuries of dirt. The stone vibrated beneath his fingers. A deep rumble echoed underground. The floor slowly split apart. A spiral staircase appeared, descending into complete darkness. Cold air rose from below. Not the cold of winter, the cold of something that had never seen the sun. Adrian lit his lantern. Its flame immediately turned crimson. He hesitated. Every instinct told him to leave. Instead, he stepped downward. The staircase continued far deeper than the chapel itself. The walls became smoother, older, covered with carvings, unlike anything he had ever studied. They showed people not hunting vampires, protecting one. At the bottom, he found an enormous circular chamber. Thousands of candles burned without melting. Rows of stone coffins lined the walls. Every coffin was empty. At the very center stood a black throne, not decorated with gold, not carved with jewels, only polished obsidian, so dark it reflected no light. Resting upon the throne was a single ancient book. Its cover looked as though it had been stitched from black leather. Across the front, one sentence had been carved in silver. The Book of the First Night. Adrian slowly reached toward it. The moment his fingers touched the cover, every candle in the chamber extinguished. Darkness swallowed everything. Then, one by one, the candles reignited. This time, their flames burned red. A voice echoed through the crypt, calm, ancient, almost disappointed. "You're 700 years late." Adrian spun around. No one, only endless rows of empty coffins. "Who's there?" Silence. Then, footsteps. Slow, measured, coming from behind the throne. A man emerged from the darkness. He wasn't dressed like a king. He wasn't dressed like a monster. He wore a simple black coat. His long, dark hair rested across his shoulders. His beard was neatly trimmed. His face looked no older than 35. Yet his eyes looked older than civilization itself. They carried centuries, empires, wars, Entire histories. He studied Adrian for a long moment, then smiled, not with hunger, with recognition. "So, you finally found me." Adrian struggled to speak. "Who are you?" The stranger walked toward the throne. He gently placed one hand upon the ancient book. "I've had many names. Monster, demon, king of blood, the immortal." He quietly looked toward the chapel far above. But history forgot the first one. He turned back to Adrian. "My name was Lucian." Before Adrian could ask another question, the chamber shook violently. Dust fell from the ceiling. A deafening roar echoed through the crypt, not from above, from somewhere, far below. Lucian's expression instantly changed. "No," he whispered. "It found the prison." Adrian frowned. "What prison?" Lucian slowly looked down at the black stone beneath their feet, then back into Adrian's eyes. "The one I became a vampire to guard." The ancient book suddenly flew open. Every page turned by itself. None contained words. Only one sentence slowly appeared, written in what looked like fresh blood. "The first vampire did not create the curse." Another line formed beneath it. He imprisoned it. The ground beneath the throne cracked open. A river of black mist poured upward. Not smoke, not shadow. Something alive. Something breathing. The empty coffins lining the walls all opened at once. And from somewhere beneath the crypt, something enormous opened. Its eyes, the eyes, opened. Far beneath the crypt, something enormous awakened. Not with a roar, with a heartbeat. One, slow, ancient. The sound echoed through every stone beneath the ruined chapel. The red candles flickered violently. Dust rained from the ceiling. The empty coffins lining the chamber trembled. Adrian stepped backward. "What was that?" Lucian never answered. He stared at the widening crack beneath the throne. His face, for the first time in 700 years, showed fear. It remembers. The black mist continued rising from below. It didn't spread through the room. It gathered, slowly, patiently, like smoke returning to a body. The ancient book remained open. Fresh crimson letters crawled across its pages. "The prison is breaking." Another sentence appeared. "The keeper has been found." Lucian immediately slammed the book shut. No, it chose him already. Adrian looked around in confusion. "Who?" Lucian turned toward him. "You." Silence filled the crypt. The heartbeat below them echoed again. Closer this time. Adrian shook his head. "That's impossible." "I'm just a historian." Lucian smiled sadly. So was I. The chamber suddenly became still. Even the heartbeat stopped. For one terrible moment, absolute silence filled the darkness. Then every candle went out, one by one, until only Adrian's crimson lantern remained. Its light revealed something impossible. The walls were moving. Thousands of ancient carvings slowly shifted across the stone. The people protecting the vampire had disappeared. Now they were kneeling before him. Adrian whispered, "They changed." Lucian quietly nodded. "They always do. The walls don't record history. They remember it." The lantern flame suddenly stretched toward the enormous crack, as though something below was breathing. Lucian reached into his coat, carefully removing a silver key. It wasn't made of metal. It looked as though it had been carved from frozen moonlight. Across its surface, tiny drops of red light flowed like living blood. He placed it into Adrian's hand. The moment Adrian touched it, the key began glowing. The entire crypt shook. Every empty coffin opened wider. Inside each rested not bodies, but weapons. Ancient swords, silver spears, black staffs. Broken crowns, hundreds of forgotten relics. Adrian stared in amazement. "What are these?" Lucian answered quietly. "The failures. The weapons that tried to kill the first vampire." Silence. "They couldn't?" Lucian slowly shook his head. "They weren't supposed to." Another heartbeat, louder. The crack widened. Something beneath the crypt laughed. Not loudly, softly, like someone who had been waiting a very long time. The ancient book burst open again. Its pages turned so violently they nearly tore apart. One final image appeared. Not words. A picture. A beautiful city beneath a crimson moon. People laughed in the streets. Children played beside fountains. No fear, no monsters, no darkness. Then, the sky cracked. A black shadow descended from above. The rivers turned red. The moon disappeared. The city fell silent. Only one man remained standing. Lucian. Human. Not yet a vampire. He stood before a massive stone gate. Behind it, something impossible struggled to escape. Adrian looked at the image. "That's you." Lucian nodded. The night everything ended. The picture changed. Lucian knelt before the gate. He held a silver blade in one hand, the moonlight key in the other. Without hesitation, he drove the blade into his own heart. Blood covered the gate. The key dissolved into light. His shadow began changing. His heartbeat stopped. His eyes opened again, brighter, stronger, immortal. Adrian stared in disbelief. "You chose this." Lucian quietly closed the book. "No one cursed me. I became the first vampire. Because someone had to survive forever." The heartbeat beneath the crypt suddenly became deafening. The floor exploded. Stone flew across the chamber. A gigantic iron chain burst through the broken ground. Then another. Then another. 13 enormous black chains stretched downward into endless darkness. Each chain trembled violently. Something below was pulling them. Lucian whispered, "They're weakening." Adrian looked into the abyss. "What are they holding?" No answer came. Instead, a deep voice echoed from beneath the earth. Ancient, calm, almost grateful. "Lucian." The first vampire slowly closed his eyes. "It knows my name," the voice returned. "You've guarded me long enough." One of the 13 chains snapped. The sound echoed across the world. Somewhere far above, wolves began howling. The crimson moon outside the ruined chapel slowly turned black. Lucian gripped Adrian's shoulder. His voice was barely a whisper. "Listen carefully. If I fail, never let it drink." Adrian frowned. "Drink what?" Lucian looked into the endless darkness beneath the crypt. His immortal eyes filled with regret. The blood of the first vampire. At that exact moment, a gigantic hand, formed entirely of living shadow, slowly reached upward between the remaining chains. The shadow reached through the chains. Its hand alone was larger than the entire crypt. Not flesh, not bone, only living darkness. The remaining 12 chains groaned under its weight. Every heartbeat beneath the earth became louder, slower, closer. Lucian stepped between Adrian and the abyss. His crimson eyes glowed brighter than the red candles surrounding them. "So, you've finally awakened." The shadow stopped moving. Its fingers curled around one of the ancient chains. The crypt became silent. Then, the darkness spoke, not with anger, with disappointment. "You were never meant to live this long." Lucian quietly smiled. "I know. I wasn't protecting myself. I was protecting everyone else." The shadow laughed. The sound echoed through every tunnel beneath the chapel. "You've watched kingdoms rise. You've watched empires disappear. You've buried generations. And still, you believe humanity deserves saving? Lucian answered without hesitation. Yes. The silence that followed felt heavier than the mountain above them. The shadow slowly withdrew its hand, not because it was defeated, because it was curious. Adrian finally found his voice. What is that thing? Lucian didn't look away from the abyss. It has many names. The Hollow King, the Blood Below, the Father of Hunger. He paused, but before history, it had only one, the Empty One. The ancient book suddenly burst open again. Its pages turned faster than ever before. Fresh blood spread across every page. A new image slowly formed. Not a castle, not a battlefield, a garden. Beautiful, peaceful, filled with silver trees, crystal rivers, and people who never grew old. Adrian stared. That's impossible, Lucien whispered. It was the First Kingdom. The picture changed. At the center of the garden stood a magnificent tree. Its bark shimmered like moonlight. Its branches reached beyond the clouds. Instead of fruit, drops of glowing crimson blood hung from every limb. The blood wasn't falling, it floated like tiny stars. The tree of life, Lucien quietly said. It gave life, without taking another. The vision darkened. One figure walked toward the tree. Not a monster. A man. Tall, long dark hair. A beard touched with silver. His face looked wise, yet empty. He stared at the glowing blood. Not with gratitude, with envy. The Empty One. He was the first keeper, Lucien whispered. The first guardian. Of eternal life. Adrian frowned. What happened? The answer came from the shadow itself. I grew tired of watching. The vision continued. The Empty One reached toward the floating blood. The tree trembled. A voice warned him, but he ignored it. He drank, not from thirst, from desire. The glowing blood instantly turned black. The garden withered. The silver trees became ash. The crystal rivers dried into dust. The sky itself forgot the sun. The Empty One screamed, not in pain, in hunger, a hunger that could never again be satisfied. The image vanished. Lucien slowly closed the book. He wasn't cursed. He corrupted eternity, Adrian whispered. So vampires, Lucien nodded, were never supposed to exist. The curse began with a choice. Suddenly, the enormous chains shook violently. A second chain snapped. The crypt lurched sideways. Stone crashed from the ceiling. One of the empty coffins split apart. Inside rested a glass vial, filled with glowing crimson blood. Adrian stared. What is that? Lucien's expression immediately changed. He rushed toward the broken coffin. Too late. The shadow beneath the earth began laughing. It remembers. The vial slowly floated into the air. The blood inside moved like a living creature. Lucien whispered, No, the first blood. Adrian looked confused. The blood from the tree? Lucien shook his head. Worse. My blood. Silence. I became immortal. By sealing the corruption inside myself, my blood became its prison. The glowing crimson liquid suddenly pulsed. Every candle turned black. Every remaining coffin opened at once, one by one, their empty interiors filled with crimson mist. Then, figures began appearing. Not corpses, vampires. Dozens of them, ancient, long-haired, long-bearded. Each wore weathered black robes. Each held silver swords lowered toward the floor. None moved. None blinked. They simply stood, watching Lucien. Adrian whispered, Who are they? Lucien smiled sadly. My brothers. The first guardians. The vampires slowly bowed together. Not to Lucien, to Adrian. The ancient book opened one final time. Only one sentence appeared. The last keeper has been found. Adrian stepped backward. No! You've made a mistake. Lucian looked directly into his eyes. We said the same thing, 700 years ago. The crimson vial suddenly cracked. A single drop of glowing blood escaped. It didn't fall. It floated toward Adrian. The shadow's voice echoed beneath the earth, filled with anticipation. Let him choose. The glowing drop stopped, only inches from Adrian's heart. The crimson drop hovered before Adrian's heart. It pulsed like a living heartbeat. The entire crypt fell silent. Lucian didn't move. The ancient vampires remained perfectly still. Even the shadow beneath the earth waited. The Empty One whispered from the darkness, "Choose." Adrian stared at the glowing blood. "If I touch it." "What happens?" Lucian answered honestly. "You'll never die." The shadow laughed. "Tell him the rest." Lucian slowly lowered his head. "You'll never truly live again." Silence. The crimson drop floated closer. Only inches remained. Suddenly, one of the ancient vampires stepped forward. He removed his hood. His face looked peaceful. Not monstrous. Not cruel. Only tired. "I made the same choice. 600 years ago." Another vampire stepped beside him. So did I. One after another. Every guardian lowered their hood. Long-haired men. Long beards. Faces carrying centuries of sorrow. None looked evil. They looked lonely. Lucian quietly spoke. "We were never hunters. We volunteered. Every generation, someone chose immortality, so the prison would never stand unguarded." Adrian looked around the chamber. "So none of you were cursed?" The oldest guardian smiled sadly. "No, we accepted the burden." Before Adrian could speak, the ancient book burst open. Fresh blood covered every page. A new vision appeared, a magnificent kingdom, larger than any empire. Its towers touched the clouds. Its rivers shimmered like liquid silver. People laughed in the streets. Children played beneath enormous crimson trees. No sickness, no war, no death. The Empty One's voice echoed through the vision. "This was my kingdom." The image darkened. The people stopped smiling. They became afraid, not of monsters, of dying. Kings begged for more years. Scholars begged for more knowledge. Warriors begged for more victories. The Empty One stood before them, holding a silver cup. Inside glowed the first blood. He spoke only one sentence. "No one has to die again." Thousands drank, then millions, for one glorious night. Death disappeared. No one grew older. No one became weak. The kingdom celebrated. Until sunrise, the vision changed. The people woke hungry. Not for food, for life itself. Families turned against families. Neighbors hunted neighbors. Children cried for blood. The rivers turned crimson. The silver trees withered. The great kingdom destroyed itself. In a single week. Adrian whispered, "They weren't monsters." Lucian quietly answered, "They forgot that life has meaning because it ends." The vision vanished. The crypt shook violently. A third chain snapped. The roar echoed beneath the earth. The shadow slowly pushed farther upward. This time, its shoulders emerged from the abyss. Its body wasn't made of darkness anymore. It looked almost human. Long black hair, a flowing beard, ancient robes woven from shadow. Only its eyes remained empty, bottomless, silent. The Empty One smiled. "I remember when I looked like you." Lucian stepped forward. "You chose hunger." The Empty One nodded. "I chose forever. You chose sacrifice." Then he looked toward Adrian. "Now, he chooses." The glowing drop of first blood suddenly split into 13 smaller drops. Each floated around Adrian. Each whispered different promises. Unlimited power, endless knowledge, perfect strength, no more fear, no more death. The voices became louder, almost irresistible. Adrian closed his eyes. The whispers entered his mind. He saw himself ruling kingdoms. He saw wars ending because no one could challenge him. He saw centuries of wisdom, every secret, every forgotten language, every mystery solved. The temptation felt real. Then, another vision appeared, not created by the Empty One. A little girl crying beside her father's grave, an old couple holding hands beneath the stars, a mother kissing her sleeping child, friends saying goodbye, promising to meet again. Ordinary moments, beautiful, because they couldn't last forever. Lucian quietly whispered, "Eternity without love is only another prison." The 13 drops trembled. Some began losing their crimson glow. The Empty One's smile slowly disappeared. "No, don't remember." The ancient vampires all stepped beside Adrian. One by one, they drew small silver daggers. Not to attack. Each gently cut his own palm. 13 streams of crimson blood fell onto the black stone. The blood didn't spread. It became glowing chains. The ancient guardians spoke together. "We chose this, so no one else would have to." The new chains wrapped around the widening abyss. The Empty One roared. The ground split apart. The chapel above collapsed. Moonlight poured through the broken ceiling. For the first time, the crimson moon became visible directly above the crypt. Lucian looked upward, his immortal face filled with horror. "No, the blood moon!" Adrian followed his gaze. The moon wasn't red anymore. It was opening, like a great crimson eye. At its center, a gigantic black gate slowly became visible. Ancient symbols glowed across its surface. The Empty One smiled. "It's opening." Lucian whispered words that no vampire had spoken for 700 years. The Blood Gate. The ancient book turned its final page. Only one sentence appeared, written in burning crimson light. The first vampire never feared the monsters below. A second sentence slowly formed beneath it. He feared what was waiting above. Far beyond the blood moon, something enormous moved behind the gate. The blood moon opened wider. It wasn't a moon anymore. It was a doorway, a colossal crimson gate suspended in the heavens. Its surface stretched across the entire night sky. Ancient symbols glowed like rivers of fire. The stars vanished behind it. Every person across the world looked upward. Kings abandoned their thrones. Soldiers lowered their weapons. Children stopped crying. Even the wolves fell silent. Something beyond the gate was watching. Deep beneath the ruined chapel, the crypt trembled. The Empty One smiled. "You finally see it." Adrian couldn't look away. "What is it?" Lucian answered without taking his eyes from the sky. "The place where the curse was born." The ancient vampires looked at one another. None spoke. They remembered. The oldest guardian whispered, "We prayed that no one would ever see it again." The gate slowly groaned open, not quickly, patiently, as if it had all the time in eternity. A beam of crimson light descended from the heavens. It struck the center of the crypt. The black throne began shaking violently. Cracks spread across its obsidian surface. Lucian stepped backward. "No. It's calling." Adrian frowned. "Calling what?" Lucian's voice was barely audible. "The throne was never built here." The crimson light grew brighter. The throne slowly rose into the air. Stone shattered beneath it. Ancient runes hidden beneath the floor became visible. a massive circle surrounded by 13 silver chains, every chain connected, not to the earth, but upward, toward the blood gate. The empty one laughed softly. "You thought the chains imprisoned me." He slowly spread his arms. They were anchoring the gate. Silence. Adrian stared in disbelief. "The prison wasn't underground?" Lucien slowly closed his eyes. "No, the prison has always been above us." The ancient book exploded open once more. Its pages no longer showed visions. They showed memories. Lucien's memories. 700 years earlier. Lucien stood before the blood gate, not alone. Thousands of guardians surrounded him. Kings, queens, priests, warriors, scholars. Men and women from every kingdom. Each carried a silver lantern. Each knew they would never return. A voice thundered from beyond the gate. "Open it!" No one obeyed. Instead, the guardians raised their lanterns. Their light formed 13 chains. The chains wrapped around the gate. Slowly, it began closing, but the light wasn't enough. Someone had to remain behind. Someone had to become the lock. The memory showed Lucien stepping forward. He placed both hands upon the gate. Lucien nodded. "I wasn't saving my kingdom. I was saving every generation that hadn't been born yet." A fourth chain suddenly snapped. The sound split the heavens. The blood gate opened another few inches. A freezing wind poured through. Not cold air, a presence, ancient, patient, hungry. The crimson beam widened. The floating throne drifted upward, toward the open sky. The empty one reached for it. "This throne belongs to me." Before his hand could touch it, one of the ancient guardians stepped forward. He drove his silver sword into the throne. The blade shattered instantly. The guardian smiled peacefully. Then, his body turned into pure silver light. The light wrapped around one broken chain. It became whole again. Lucien lowered his head. One keeper. One chain. The remaining guardians understood. Without speaking, they stepped forward together. Each drew a silver blade. Each placed it over his own heart. Adrian shouted, "Stop! You don't have to do this!" The oldest guardian smiled. "We chose this long before you were born." One by one, they surrendered their immortality. Their ancient bodies dissolved into brilliant silver light. Each guardian became a chain. 1, 2, 3, 4. The broken chains were restored. The blood gate trembled. It began closing again. The empty one screamed in fury. "No, you belong to eternity," Lucien quietly answered. "They always belonged to hope." Only 3 guardians remained. Lucien, the oldest guardian, and Adrian. The crypt had become almost empty. The silence felt unbearable. Then, the crimson light suddenly changed. A shadow appeared beyond the half-open gate. Not the empty one. Something infinitely larger. Its face couldn't be seen. Only 2 enormous crimson eyes, opening within endless darkness. The eyes looked directly at Adrian. Not Lucien. Not the empty one. Adrian. A voice echoed across the heavens. It wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. Every living soul heard it. "The new keeper has arrived." Adrian's silver key began glowing so brightly. He could no longer hold it. The key floated upward, toward the blood gate. Lucien's face lost all color. "No. It has chosen him already." The ancient book turned to its final unwritten page. Slowly, one sentence appeared. Not in blood. In brilliant silver light. The first vampire was never the final keeper. Then, another line formed beneath it. The last keeper has yet to make his choice. Far beyond the blood gate, the enormous crimson eyes slowly blinked. The crimson eyes blinked. For one impossible moment, the entire world became silent. No wind, no heartbeat, no sound, only those two ancient eyes watching Adrian. The silver key floated from his hand. Slowly, it rose towards the blood gate. Every symbol carved upon the gate began shining. The empty one smiled. It remembers him. Adrian stepped backward. I've never been here. Lucien quietly shook his head. No, but your blood has. Silence. Adrian frowned. What does that mean? Lucian slowly walked toward the ancient book. Its final page continued writing by itself. Fresh silver letters appeared. Every keeper leaves a part of his soul. Another sentence formed. Inside the next. Adrian stared at the words. No. Lucien nodded. The keepers were never chosen by chance. They were prepared, generation after generation. The courage of one became the strength of another. The silver key touched the blood gate. Instantly, the heavens exploded with light. 1,000 forgotten memories poured into Adrian's mind. He saw kingdoms that had never existed. Mountains now buried beneath oceans. Cities carved from crystal. Armies standing beneath 3 moons. Then, he saw Lucian. Not as a vampire, as a young man. Laughing, living, holding the hand of a woman beneath silver trees. A little girl ran toward him. Dad! Lucien caught her in his arms. His face shone with happiness. Adrian whispered, You had a family. Lucien smiled sadly. I had everything. The memory changed. The sky cracked open. The blood gate appeared. The crimson eyes looked down upon the kingdom. People screamed. The rivers turned black. The silver trees began dying. Lucian kissed his daughter one final time. I'll come home. He never did. The memory disappeared. Adrian slowly looked at him. You lied to them. Lucien nodded. I couldn't tell them. I was leaving forever. The remaining 2 guardians lowered their heads. Each had left someone behind. Each had become immortal, so others could remain mortal. Above them, the blood gate opened another few inches. The enormous eyes disappeared. Something else began approaching. Footsteps. Each step echoed like thunder. Not walking upon earth, walking inside the gate. The empty one closed his eyes. It comes. Lucien's voice hardened. We don't have much time. The ancient vampires drew their silver swords, not to attack, to salute. The oldest guardian walked toward Adrian. His beard reached his waist. His face carried nearly 1,000 years of memories. He removed a weathered silver ring from his finger. Inside it, 1 sentence had been carved. The keeper serves. He never rules. The guardian placed the ring into Adrian's hand. I wore this for 400 years. It belongs to you now. Before Adrian could refuse, the guardian smiled. Then his body dissolved into silver light. The light rose into the heavens. Another broken chain was restored. Only Lucian remained, the first vampire, the first keeper, the last immortal guardian. The blood gate shook violently. The footsteps stopped. Then, a massive hand gripped the edge of the gate. Unlike the empty one, this hand wasn't made of darkness. It was carved from black stone, covered with ancient runes. Each finger was larger than a castle. Slowly, something began pulling itself through the opening. Only its face emerged. Not a monster, not a demon, a king. His long white hair flowed like rivers. His beard reached his chest. A black crown rested upon his head, but his eyes were empty, hollow, as though every star had been removed from them. Adrian whispered, "Who is he?" Lucien answered with visible dread. "The first king. The one who opened the blood gate." The crowned figure looked down upon the earth. His voice was calm, gentle, almost kind. "My children, why are you still afraid of eternity?" Millions across the world heard the words. Some immediately fell to their knees. Others began walking toward the ruined chapel, without speaking, without blinking, as though sleepwalking. Adrian watched in horror. "What's happening?" Lucian whispered. "He's calling them. The Blood King doesn't conquer kingdoms. He invites them." Far away, villages emptied, cities grew silent. Entire crowds walked toward the mountain, drawn by the ancient voice. The first king smiled. "They've waited long enough." The silver key suddenly transformed. It was no longer a key. It unfolded into a magnificent silver sword. Its blade reflected moonlight instead of fire. Ancient letters appeared across its surface. "Only the willing may close the gate." Lucien looked at Adrian. "No one can force this choice. You must decide." Adrian gripped the sword tightly. His hands trembled. "I don't know if I'm strong enough." Lucian smiled for the first time. Neither was I. He gently removed the black cloak he had worn for 7 centuries. Beneath it, he no longer looked like a vampire. His crimson eyes slowly became human again. His face softened. For a brief moment, Adrian saw the man Lucian used to be. The father, the husband, the guardian. Not the monster history remembered. Lucian looked toward the blood gate, then quietly spoke the words he had waited 700 years to say. "My watch is almost over." At that exact moment, the Blood King stepped completely through the gate. The heavens cracked from horizon to horizon, and behind him, an endless army of silent immortals began marching toward the world. The Blood King stepped onto the earth. The moment his feet touched the ancient stone, every candle inside the crypt went dark. The crimson moon dimmed. The air itself became heavy. Behind him, the blood gate continued opening. One by one, they emerged. Thousands, then tens of thousands. Silent immortals, long-haired, long-bearded, dressed in black robes older than history itself. None carried banners. None shouted. They marched, without a single sound. Their empty eyes stared forward, as though every thought had been erased centuries ago. Adrian gripped the silver sword. His heart pounded. "What are they?" Lucien looked at the endless army. His voice was filled with sorrow. "They were keepers." Silence. "They all failed." The word struck Adrian harder than any weapon. "Failed," Lucien nodded. "They accepted eternity, but forgot why. The Blood King didn't kill them. He convinced them to stop protecting others and start protecting themselves." The Blood King smiled. "I merely gave them what they wanted." The endless army stopped marching. Every immortal slowly raised his head. Thousands of hollow eyes locked onto Adrian. The Blood King extended one hand. "Come. You've carried enough fear. I can remove it. I can remove death. I can remove pain." Adrian tightened his grip on the sword. "And love?" The Blood King remained silent. "And sacrifice?" No answer. "And hope?" For the first time, the ancient king looked away. Lucian whispered, "He cannot understand those." The Blood King slowly laughed. "They're temporary. I offer forever." The ancient book suddenly burst into brilliant silver light. Its pages turned faster than ever before. Then, every page became blank. Only the final page remained. One sentence slowly appeared. "Every keeper must remember." Another line followed. What the first keeper forgot. Adrian looked toward Lucien. What did he forget? Lucien slowly faced the Blood King. "You." The Blood King frowned. Lucian continued. You were never born evil. You were once the greatest protector who ever lived. Silence. The Blood King's expression changed, just slightly. Confusion. The ancient vampires who had become chains began glowing. Silver light wrapped around the heavens. Lucian stepped closer. I've guarded you for 700 years. Not because I hated you, because I remembered who you used to be. The Blood King suddenly roared. Enough! The mountain shook. The Blood Gate opened even wider. More immortals poured into the world. Entire forests disappeared beneath their endless march. Villages emptied. Cities fell silent. Not through war, through surrender. People willingly joined the procession, drawn by the promise of never dying. Adrian watched families leaving their homes, children holding their parents' hands, old men smiling with relief. No fear, only temptation. The Blood King spread his arms. Look, they're choosing me, Lucian quietly answered. They're choosing escape. The Blood King's smile faded. Above them, the silver chains suddenly trembled. One by one, tiny cracks appeared. Not because they were weak, because hope itself was fading. Every person who abandoned life weakened the chains. Adrian whispered, the chains. They're connected to people. Lucian nodded. They always were. They were never forged from silver. They were forged from willing hearts. The silver sword in Adrian's hands suddenly became warm. Ancient words appeared along its blade. The gate closes. A second line appeared. Only when someone chooses mortality. Adrian looked toward Lucian. You knew. Lucian smiled. I've always known. You can't defeat eternity. You must give it away. Silence. Adrian slowly understood. If I become the keeper, I'll become immortal. Lucian nodded. But if you close the gate, you'll lose it. The Blood King laughed. You see? He's already afraid. The silver sword suddenly showed another memory. Lucian, 700 years earlier, standing before the Blood Gate. He had not become immortal immediately. He had been given a choice. The very same choice Adrian faced now, and Lucian had chosen everyone else. The memory disappeared. Adrian looked at the first vampire. Did you ever regret it? Lucian looked toward the stars. For a long time, he said nothing. Then he smiled. I missed birthdays. I missed sunsets. I missed growing old beside the people I loved. I buried everyone. I watched centuries disappear. His eyes glistened. But I never regretted saving tomorrow. The Blood King suddenly raised both hands. The endless army stopped. Then, every immortal drew an ancient black sword. Thousands of blades pointed toward the heavens. The Blood Gate responded. It opened completely. Beyond it, another world became visible. A world with no sunrise, no sunset, no children, no laughter, only endless crimson skies, filled with silent, immortal cities. The Blood King looked at Adrian. This is eternity. Then he smiled, and it's waiting for your answer. At that exact moment, from somewhere beyond the crimson world, a colossal shadow moved. It was so enormous that even the Blood King slowly turned around. For the first time, fear appeared in his hollow eyes. He whispered only 3 words. It woke up. The entire Blood Gate began to crack. The Blood Gate began to crack, not because someone attacked it, because something inside was trying to escape. The colossal shadow moved again. Even the Blood King stepped backward. The endless army stopped marching. For the first time, every immortal looked afraid. Adrian stared through the crimson gateway. What is that? The Blood King didn't answer. His empty eyes never left the darkness beyond. Lucian whispered. It was never supposed to wake. A deep sound rolled across both worlds. Not a roar, a breath. One single breath, powerful enough to shake mountains. The crimson sky beyond the gate slowly split apart. Ancient clouds drifted away. A gigantic throne appeared. It wasn't carved from stone or crystal or gold. It was carved from countless broken crowns. Every king who had ever ruled through fear seemed to have left his crown there. Upon the throne, someone sat waiting, motionless, his face hidden beneath a weathered hood. A silver staff rested across his knees. Unlike everyone else, he wore white robes, not black, not crimson. White. The Blood King slowly fell to one knee. No, it cannot be. Lucien's immortal eyes widened. I thought he was gone. The hooded figure slowly stood. He wasn't enormous. He looked like an ordinary old man. Long white hair, a flowing silver beard, calm eyes brighter than moonlight. Yet every immortal lowered their head. Even the empty one became silent. Adrian whispered, "Who is he?" Lucian answered, with a voice filled with awe. "The first keeper." Silence. The one history erased. The old man stepped forward. Every step caused the crimson ground beyond the gate to bloom with silver flowers. Life followed him, not death. He looked at the Blood King. "You've ruled long enough." The Blood King slowly stood. "You abandoned us." The old man quietly shook his head. "No. You abandoned your promise." The ancient book burst open one final time. Instead of words, every page reflected the past. The first keeper, standing beside the tree of life, not guarding it, tending it, watering it, protecting it. Then the empty one appeared. Young, wise, respected. He wasn't evil. He was simply afraid. Afraid of dying. Afraid of losing everything he loved. The first keeper placed a hand upon his shoulder. "There is another way." But the empty one refused to listen. He reached for the sacred blood. The world changed forever. The vision faded. The old man looked toward Adrian. The first vampire was never humanity's greatest tragedy. The first fear was. Adrian lowered the silver sword. So this was never a war against vampires? The old keeper smiled gently. No, it has always been a war against fear. The Blood King suddenly roared. "Enough!" His black crown burst into flames. The endless army raised their swords. "Immortals! Forward!" Thousands charged. The earth trembled beneath them. Lucian stepped beside Adrian. This is where every keeper has fallen. Adrian gripped the silver sword. "What do we do?" Lucian smiled. "We remember." The old keeper gently lifted his silver staff. Not toward the army, toward the sky. Moonlight poured through the blood gate. The crimson clouds dissolved. The silent immortal cities became visible. They weren't glorious. They were empty. Every house abandoned. Every palace silent. Every street deserted. Adrian frowned. "Where are the people?" The old keeper answered softly. "They stopped living. They stopped dreaming. They stopped loving. They forgot why eternity was ever worth seeking." The charging army slowed. Many immortals looked around. For the first time, they noticed the emptiness surrounding them. One immortal dropped his sword. Another looked toward the moon. Then another. The Blood King shouted, "Don't look!" But it was too late. Moonlight reached their faces. One by one, they remembered. A daughter's laughter, a father's embrace, a forgotten home, the smell of fresh rain, the warmth of growing old beside someone they loved. Tears slowly appeared in immortal eyes that hadn't cried for centuries. The army stopped. Thousands fell to their knees, not defeated, awakened. The Blood King looked around in disbelief. "No, you belong to me," the old keeper quietly answered. "No one ever did." The black crown cracked. A brilliant silver light escaped from inside it. The Empty One stared at the light. He whispered, "I remember." The light grew brighter. His hollow eyes slowly filled with life again. Not completely, just enough to recognize his own reflection. He looked toward Lucian, then toward Adrian. "I'm sorry." The words echoed across both worlds. The Bloodgate violently shook. The enormous throne behind the Old Keeper suddenly began crumbling. The Old Keeper's smile faded. "There isn't much time." Adrian looked at him. "What happens now?" The old man slowly pointed beyond the broken throne. Something far deeper than the Bloodgate was awakening. The darkness there was unlike anything they had seen. Not hunger, not fear, silence itself. The Old Keeper whispered words that froze every soul present. The Bloodgate was never the true prison. He slowly turned toward Adrian. It was only the first door. Behind the collapsing throne, a second gate, larger than the heavens themselves, began opening. The second gate began to open. Not with thunder, not with fire, with silence. A silence so complete that every heartbeat stopped. The Bloodgate suddenly looked small, insignificant, as though it had never been the prison, only its entrance. The colossal doorway beyond the broken throne stretched farther than the stars. Its pillars disappeared into endless darkness. No symbols covered it, no chains held it shut, only one sentence carved across its ancient surface. "All hunger begins with a single choice." Adrian stared upward. "What is this?" The first keeper slowly lowered his silver staff. "The final gate. The one we hoped would never be found." The Empty One looked at the enormous doorway, his face filled with horror. "No, I never opened that." The first keeper nodded. "You couldn't. You only opened the first door." A deep breath echoed from beyond the gate. The sound alone caused mountains to crack. The oceans trembled. Every star above the earth flickered. The Blood King slowly removed his broken black crown. His hands were shaking. "Even I cannot rule what lives there." Lucian stepped beside Adrian. "For 700 years, I believed I was guarding the greatest evil." He looked toward the endless doorway. "I was wrong." The ancient book suddenly rose into the air. Its pages tore free, becoming thousands of glowing silver feathers. The feathers circled Adrian. Each carried the memory of a keeper. Kings, queens, shepherds, scholars, children, ordinary people who had chosen sacrifice over eternity. The voices surrounded him, not commanding, encouraging. "Remember, stand, choose hope." The silver sword in Adrian's hand began shining brighter than the moon. New words appeared upon its blade. "The last gate never closes." A second sentence followed. "It is guarded." The first keeper smiled. "You finally understand." Adrian slowly nodded. "There will never be an end. There will only be someone willing to stand." The old keeper's eyes filled with quiet joy. Exactly. Suddenly, the final gate opened another few inches. Darkness did not emerge. Light did not emerge. Instead, millions of whispers poured into the world. Each whisper spoke directly into human hearts. "You deserve more. You deserve forever. Take what is not yours. Think only of yourself." Across the earth, people froze. Some lowered their heads, others clenched their fists. Old jealousies returned, forgotten hatred awakened. The whispers didn't create evil. They awakened what was already hidden. The first keeper sighed. This is where every battle begins. Adrian realized the truth. The monster isn't trying to destroy the world. The first keeper nodded. It never has. It simply waits for people to open the door themselves. The empty one slowly fell to his knees. Tears rolled down his face. I heard those whispers. I believed them. Lucienne gently placed a hand on his shoulder. And today, you stopped listening. For the first time in ages, the empty one smiled. A peaceful smile. The black corruption covering his body began fading. His robes slowly turned silver. His empty eyes filled with light. The Blood King watched in disbelief. No, you cannot change. The empty one quietly answered. Neither could you. He walked toward the Blood King. The two ancient rulers stood face to face. One still ruled by fear, the other finally free from it. The empty one removed the shattered black crown. Then, he gently laid it upon the ground. I carried this long enough. The crown crumbled into dust. The Blood King's body trembled. Cracks of silver light spread across his ancient form. He looked toward the first keeper. I was your student. The old man nodded. You still are. Silence. The Blood King's hollow eyes slowly closed. When they opened again, they were no longer empty. He remembered. The fields where he was born, his mother's voice. The day he first became a keeper, the promise he once made. His sword slipped from his hand. I forgot who I was. The first keeper smiled warmly. Then remember. The Blood King dissolved into countless silver lights. The endless army watched. One by one, their black robes became white. Their hollow faces softened. The silent, immortal cities beyond the Blood Gate filled with light. Windows opened. Gardens bloomed. Birds returned. Not because eternity had changed, because the hearts within it had. The Blood Gate slowly began closing, not by force, by choice. The first keeper looked toward Adrian. My work is finished. Adrian shook his head. No. The final gate is still open. The old man turned toward the endless doorway. Its darkness remained unchanged. It always will. It cannot be locked. It can only be watched. He placed the silver staff into Adrian's hands. The wood immediately became warm. Not with power, with purpose. You are not the last vampire. You are not the next king. You are the next keeper. The staff burst into brilliant silver light. Across the world, every whisper vanished. For one peaceful moment, humanity chose silence over fear. Then, from beyond the final gate, a single ancient eye slowly opened, not filled with hatred, not filled with hunger, filled with endless patience. It blinked once, then quietly whispered, directly to Adrian. I'll wait. The final gate remained open, and Adrian understood. The battle would never end. Only the keeper would change. The final gate remained open, silent, endless. Beyond it, the ancient eye watched, patiently. It made no threats. It demanded nothing. It simply waited. Adrian held the silver staff tightly. For the first time, he understood. The greatest enemy had never been a monster. It had never been a vampire. It had never even been immortality. It had always been the choice every heart must make. The first keeper looked across the endless darkness. This gate cannot be destroyed. It exists wherever fear becomes greater than love. The words echoed through both worlds. Lucian slowly stepped beside Adrian. 700 years of weariness rested upon his face. His crimson eyes had become human once again. The curse that had sustained him was fading. He smiled. It is finally morning. Adrian looked at him. What happens to you now? Lucien gazed toward the rising sun beyond the mountains. I finally become what I should have become centuries ago. The first rays of dawn touched the ruined chapel. For 700 years, Lucien had never stood beneath sunrise. This time, he did not burn. The light wrapped around him gently, like an old friend welcoming him home. His black cloak dissolved into silver dust. The scars upon his hands disappeared. His face became peaceful. Not young, not old. Simply free. He turned toward Adrian. They will remember me as the first vampire. They will write stories about blood. They will invent monsters. They will fear the night. He smiled softly. But the truth is far simpler. I became a monster, so humanity wouldn't have to. Tears filled Adrian's eyes. You don't have to leave. Lucien quietly shook his head. My watch ended. The moment someone else chose to stand. The silver staff began glowing. Every ancient keeper appeared once more. The guardians who had become chains, the old keeper, the empty one, the redeemed blood king, even the countless silent immortals, now clothed in white. None carried weapons, only light. Together, they bowed to Lucien, not because he was the strongest, because he had endured the longest. The first keeper stepped forward. You carried the burden, when no one remembered your name. Lucien smiled. I never needed them to. The old keeper placed a gentle hand upon Lucien's shoulder. Come, your family has waited. Long enough. The world disappeared. Only light remained. Then, Adrian saw one final vision, a silver meadow stretching beyond the horizon. Children laughed beneath enormous trees. Crystal rivers flowed peacefully. No bloodgate, no shadows, no hunger. Waiting at the edge of the meadow stood a woman. Beside her, a little girl. The little girl smiled. Dad? Lucien froze. The centuries of pain vanished from his face. He slowly walked toward them, then faster. The little girl ran into his arms. The woman embraced them both. For the first time in 700 years, Lucien cried. Not from sorrow, from joy. He looked back one last time, toward Adrian, toward the earth, toward the world he had protected. He smiled. Then he disappeared into the light. The vision ended. The ancient keepers slowly faded, one after another. They became silver stars. The first keeper was the last to leave. He looked toward Adrian. The final gate will always remain. But remember, it only opens when someone chooses fear over hope. He too became light. The blood gate slowly closed forever. Its crimson surface dissolved into moonlight. The heavens became clear once again. The stars returned. The moon shone peacefully above the earth. The ruined chapel remained, hidden among ancient trees. Its staircase disappeared beneath solid stone. The crypt was gone, as though it had never existed. Years passed. People forgot the blood moon, forgot the silent army, forgot the immortal guardians. History remembered only fragments. It spoke of terrifying vampires. It told stories of monsters drinking blood. It frightened children with tales of creatures lurking in darkness. No one remembered that the very first vampire had spent 7 centuries protecting humanity. No historian ever discovered the truth. No king ever recorded his sacrifice. Only one small inscription remained, carved into an old weathered stone where the chapel once stood. Travelers rarely noticed it. Those who did could barely read the faded words. The first vampire was never humanity's greatest monster. He was humanity's greatest guardian. Far away, where the silver meadow touched eternity. Lucian watched one final sunrise beside the family he had never forgotten, and deep within every human heart, the final gate still stood, waiting, silent, patient. Not because darkness would always return, but because every generation would always be given the same choice: fear or hope. That was the secret history nobody ever talked about. Not the story of the first vampire, but the story of the first man who willingly became one, so the rest of the world could remain human.